What started as a tense family dinner with my unfaithful wife turned devastating when our daughter stepped forward with an uncomfortable truth about another man. Be me, 31-year-old Robert Wilson, head software developer at major tech company, living in Denver with what seemed like a perfect family. Wife Linda, 2 daughters. Older one is Elizabeth, younger one is Lily. Just a normal evening in our house. Elizabeth comes up to me. Dad, there's something I need to tell you. Her voice is shaking but determined. The kind of voice that makes everyone freeze. My heart starts pounding in my chest. No, this is going to change everything. Family meeting in the living room. Linda's idea to call it that. Not about weekend plans this time. Not about Elizabeth's grades. About Linda. My cheating, lying, manipulative wife finally figured it all out. Time to confront her in front of our family. The people she disrespected the most. Darling, how about some wine? Try to keep my voice steady. Linda sitting on the leather couch, acting like everything's perfectly normal. No, dear, I'm trying to lose weight. Her voice sharp and mocking. Not even trying to hide her attitude anymore. Have to laugh or might explode right there. Is it because of the antibiotics? You know, from your trip with your supposed sisters. Watch her face go pale for a second. Recovers quickly. Rolls her eyes. Grow up, Robert. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic? She has no idea what's coming. Before she can dismiss me again, Elizabeth stands up. My quiet, sweet daughter. Never gets involved in arguments. But now she's taking the floor, and she's not backing down. Dad, she says again. More forceful this time. Everyone turns to look at her. Me, Linda, even little Lily, holding her stuffed penguin for protection. Linda's eyes narrow dangerously, finally showing some real emotion. Ask Elizabeth what's wrong. Try to keep my voice steady. Don't want to assume, but the way she looks at her mother. No, this isn't going to be good. Elizabeth takes a deep breath. It's about Mom and Andrew. Room goes completely silent. Andrew. That name again. Same name from those disgusting messages. Same name connected to the fake trip. Name that's been haunting me for weeks. Linda jumps up from the couch, eyes blazing with pure fury. Elizabeth, that's enough. Her voice cracks, losing her usual confident tone. Don't you dare. But Elizabeth doesn't stop. Turns to me with tears in her eyes. Dad, I saw them on FaceTime when you were at work. Feel my stomach drop to the floor. This isn't just a suspicion anymore. This is real. This is concrete. And Linda knows it. You little brat, Linda hisses. Face twisted with rage, she lunges toward Elizabeth. Step between them instantly, voice booming louder than intended. That's enough, Linda. Sit down. First time she actually looks scared, maybe finally realizing. Her whole house of cards is crashing down. She sinks back onto the couch, glaring at Elizabeth and me, like we're the villains in her twisted story. Elizabeth keeps going, voice shaking but determined. I didn't mean to see it, Dad. I swear. Was just using her phone to call my babysitter. And there he was. Andrew. They were laughing, talking about their trip, about how they couldn't wait to do it again. My fists clench at my sides. Want to scream? Want to throw something? Want to confront Linda right there. But Elizabeth isn't done. Adds one final blow. And Dad, there's more. Andrew is married too. His wife doesn't know either. That's it. Final nail in the coffin. Room starts spinning. Linda's betrayal was bad enough, but dragging another family into her mess, destroying another marriage. Can't even look at her anymore. But I'm not done. Not by a long shot. Room is dead silent. Only hear the air conditioner humming, and my heart pounding like crazy. Linda still sitting rigid on the couch. Refuses to meet my eyes. Elizabeth stays close to me. Protective stance. Don't know who I'm angrier at. Linda for her betrayal, or myself for letting it go on so long. Take a slow breath. Try to control the storm inside. So Linda, keep my voice eerily calm. How long has this been going on? She crosses her arms, leans back like she owns the place. I don't know what Elizabeth thinks she saw. Stop lying, I snap, voice sharp enough to make Lily flinch. Soften my tone immediately. Look at my youngest. Sweetheart, why don't you go to your room? Elizabeth will check on you in a minute. Lily hesitates, big eyes darting between me and Linda. Elizabeth gently guides her out. Wait for the door to click shut. Turn my full attention back to my wife. I'm not stupid, Linda, voice trembling with contained fury. I've seen the messages. I've seen the photos. I know about the trip. About Andrew, about all of it. Her mask cracks for a split second, then rolls her eyes, laughs this bitter, humorless sound. Oh, grow up, Robert. You act like this is some big scandal. People have affairs all the time. Stare at her completely dumbfounded. Are you seriously trying to justify this? You cheated on me, on our family, and all you can say is that it's normal? She shrugs, her whole posture screaming whatever. Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't have had to look elsewhere. Boring. That word cuts deeper than any insult. Wasn't perfect, sure, but gave Linda everything. my time, my energy, my loyalty. And in return, get this, a wife who betrays me, then insults me for not being exciting enough. Clench my fists, nails digging into my palms. So what? This is my fault now? You're blaming me for your decisions? Linda rolls her eyes again, stands up and starts pacing the room, acting like she's the one who's been wronged. God, Robert, don't act like such a victim. You work late all the time. You're always stressed. And honestly, you haven't exactly been a barrel of fun to live with. Can't believe what I'm hearing. She's not even trying to apologize, not even attempting to explain herself, just attacking me, turning her infidelity into my failure as a husband. Keep my voice low, but anger simmers underneath. So your solution to a boring marriage was to shack up with another man, to sneak around behind my back, to teach our daughters that this is what love looks like? Linda throws her hands in the air, looking completely exasperated. Oh, don't drag the kids into this. They'll be fine. They're resilient. Resilient? I repeat. Voice getting louder. Elizabeth just told me she caught you FaceTiming another man. And you think she'll be fine? You think Lily is going to forget about this? Like it's some bad dream? Linda, you've shattered this family, and you don't even seem to care. She stops pacing, turns to face me, expression cold and calculating. Oh, please. Don't act like you're some perfect saint, Robert. You're not exactly the easiest person to live with either. Maybe if you paid half as much attention to me as you do to your job, I wouldn't have needed Andrew. There it is again. Her need to twist the knife, to make this somehow my fault. But this time I don't take the bait. Instead, reach into my pocket, pull out my phone, without a word. Open my email, find the screenshots I'd saved. Hand it to her. Explain this. Keep my voice steady but icy. Linda glances at the screen. Face flushes red, but instead of looking ashamed, she smirks. You've been spying on me. Wow, Robert, that's real mature. Feel like I'm about to explode. Are you serious right now? You're cheating on me. And you're upset because I found proof? Linda, just admit it. Stop lying. Stop deflecting. Just tell the truth for once in your life. She stares at me for a long moment, lips pressed into a thin line, then finally sits back down on the couch. Sighs like this whole conversation is exhausting her. Fine, she says flatly. Yes, I've been seeing Andrew. Are you happy now? Happy? Happy? The audacity of her question nearly makes me laugh. Instead of answering, just stare at her, mind racing with 100 questions. Why Andrew? Why now? Was anything we had real? Or was it all just a lie? But another part of me, the part already tired of her games, knows it wouldn't matter. Linda isn't sorry. She's not going to apologize, not going to beg for forgiveness. Doesn't even seem to care that she's been caught. Wow, I finally say, shaking my head in disbelief. You don't feel anything, do you? No guilt, no shame, nothing. She shrugs again. Why should I? You'll get over it, Robert. You always do. Can't take it anymore. Stand up and grab my keys, hands trembling with anger and heartbreak. You're unbelievable, I mutter. I need some air. Walking out the door, Linda calls after me, voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh sure, run away. That's what you're good at, right? Don't answer. Can't answer. Know if I stay in that house 1 second longer, might say or do something I can't take back. Night air hits me like a punch to the gut, cold and sharp. Stumble into the driveway, gripping my keys so tight they dig into my palm. Head is spinning. But it's not the kind you can shake off. This is something else. A perfect storm of anger, heartbreak, and betrayal. Sit in the car, grip the steering wheel. Don't start the engine. Just stare blankly at the dashboard. Replaying the confrontation in my mind, Linda's words echo in my ears. You'll get over it. You always do. It isn't just the betrayal that stings. It's her complete lack of remorse. The woman I thought I knew, the mother of my children, had turned into a stranger before my eyes. For a few minutes, let the pain wash over me. Think about all the times I stayed late at work, trying to make enough money to give her the life she wanted. Think about the vacations I planned, the anniversaries I tried to make special, all the small, unnoticed gestures, done just to see her smile. And now it all feels like a cruel joke. But then something clicks. This isn't going to end here. I'm not going to be the fool she walks all over. If Linda wants to act like this is no big deal, fine. But she's about to find out just how big of a deal it really is. Pull out my phone, scroll through my contacts. First name that comes to mind, my best friend Peter. Peter's the guy you call when life goes sideways. A no-nonsense, tell-it-like-it-is kind of guy. If anyone would know what to do, it's him. Phone rings twice before he picks up. Rob, what's up, man? It's late. Don't even bother with pleasantries. Linda's cheating on me. There's a pause, followed by a low whistle. Damn, I knew something was off with her lately. What happened? Give him the condensed version. Elizabeth catching the FaceTime, The messages, the confrontation. By the time I finish, Peter is silent for a moment. Then he says, "All right, first things first. You need to protect yourself." "What do you mean?" I ask. Though deep down already know. Get a lawyer now. Don't tell her. Don't warn her. Just do it. She's going to try to spin this in her favor, especially if she thinks you're too broken to fight back. You need to be ready for whatever she throws at you. Not even though he can't see me. Peter is right. Linda's already trying to blame me for her affair. Who's to say she wouldn't try to twist this even further? Okay, I'll make some calls tomorrow. Good, Peter says. And one more thing. Don't let her think she's won. Don't give her the satisfaction of seeing you crumble. Stay calm, stay smart, and don't let her control the narrative. By the time I hang up, feel a spark of determination starting to flicker inside. Linda thought she had all the power, but she was about to find out just how wrong she was. Don't go back into the house right away. Instead, sit there, scrolling through the photos and messages I'd saved. The more I look, the angrier I get. Linda wasn't just cheating. She was careless. There were so many breadcrumbs, so many mistakes she'd made. Almost felt like she wanted to get caught. And then I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Andrew's full name. It was in one of the texts. Something about meeting at his office to finalize plans. My brain goes into overdrive. If I have his name, I can find out more about him. Who is this guy? Where does he work? Did he really think he could destroy my marriage? And get away with it? Open a browser on my phone. Start searching. Doesn't take long to find him. Andrew Matthews, mid-level manager at tech consulting firm downtown. LinkedIn profile is public, complete with professional headshot, list of all his accomplishments. Looks smug, like the kind of guy who thinks he's untouchable. But the real jackpot comes when I stumble across his wife's Facebook page. Her name is Claire Matthews, and from the looks of it, she has no idea what's going on. Her profile is filled with family photos. Her, Andrew, and their 2 kids at the park, on vacation, smiling like they're the perfect little family. My stomach churns, thinking of Andrew sneaking around behind her back, just like Linda sneaking behind mine. For a moment, consider reaching out to her. Can feel the words forming in my mind. "Hi, Claire, you don't know me, but I think your husband and my wife have been seeing each other." But stop myself. Not yet. If I'm going to do this, need to do it right. No rash decisions. No impulsive moves. This isn't just about revenge. It's about making sure Linda and Andrew can't weasel their way out of what they've done. By the time I finally go back inside, the house is dark and quiet. Linda's already in bed, pretending like nothing happened. Stand in the doorway of our bedroom, watching her sleep. She looks so peaceful, so innocent, like the woman I fell in love with all those years ago. But can't let myself be fooled by appearances anymore. This isn't the Linda I married. This is someone else. A liar, a manipulator, a woman who doesn't care who she hurts, as long as she gets what she wants. Climb into bed, careful not to wake her. My mind racing with plans, questions, possibilities. Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow I would take the first steps toward reclaiming my life. And Linda, she has no idea what's coming. Wake up earlier than usual next morning. Mind sharp and ready. Linda still in bed, snoring softly, her phone resting innocently on the nightstand. The sight of her there, oblivious to the storm she'd created, fills me with strange mix of disgust and determination. Today isn't about tears or shouting. Today is about strategy. Leave the house without saying a word. Elizabeth is in the kitchen, eating cereal. Gives me a small worried wave. Nod back, trying to reassure her. "I'll be back later," I say. Keep my tone neutral. She doesn't ask where I'm going, but the look in her eyes tells me. She knows something big is about to happen. Drive downtown, hands gripping the steering wheel like a lifeline. First stop is my lawyer's office. Peter had been right. If I want to come out of this with any shred of dignity, need to protect myself legally. Not going to let Linda spin this into some story where I'm the villain. The lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Sophia, listens patiently as I lay everything out. The affair, the messages, the fact that Elizabeth had been dragged into it. When I finish, she leans back in her chair, tapping her pen against her notebook. "Well," she says finally, "you got plenty of evidence, which is good. The fact that your daughter witnessed part of this could also work in your favor if it comes to custody. But let me be blunt, Robert. This is going to get ugly." "I'm ready for that," I say firmly. "I just want to make sure she doesn't take the kids. And I don't want her walking away thinking she's untouchable." Sophia gives me a sharp nod. "We'll make sure she doesn't. But you need to keep your emotions in check. Don't lose your temper. Don't confront her unless it's controlled. And for God's sake, don't let her bait you. Leave the office feeling more prepared than in weeks." Next stop is Andrew's office. Not planning to confront him, at least not yet, but want to get a sense of the man. who'd upended my life. His company is in one of those sleek glass buildings downtown, the kind that screams midlife crisis money. Park across the street, watch as people come and go. Sipping my coffee and waiting. Doesn't take long to spot him. Comes out of the building around noon, wearing a tailored suit. That smug, self-satisfied grin I'd seen in his LinkedIn photo. He's talking on his phone, laughing at something, completely unaware that his little bubble of infidelity is about to burst. Snap a photo of him from my car, jaw clenching as I watch him stroll down the street like he owns the world. My mind races with possibilities. Should I confront him here? Follow him? No, that's not the smart play. For now, just need to observe, gather information, build my case. But as I watch him disappear around the corner, an idea starts to form in my mind. If Linda and Andrew think they can play games with me, maybe it's time to play one of my own. That evening, I return home, my plan beginning to take shape. Linda's in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, like she doesn't have a care in the world. Barely looks up when I walk in. "Where were you?" she asks, her tone casual, but laced with just enough curiosity to make it clear she doesn't trust me. "Just running errands," I reply, matching her indifference. "You?" She smirks, "Just relaxing. You know, some of us don't live at the office." Her digs don't even faze me anymore. Let her think I'm oblivious. Let her think she still has the upper hand. That will only make the payoff sweeter. Later that night, after she goes to bed, I make my move. Downloaded a phone tracking app earlier in the day, using the same passcode I'd used before. Install it while she sleeps. Hate stooping to this level. But if Linda isn't going to come clean, need to gather every piece of evidence I can. Within minutes, the app is set up, silently running in the background. Now wherever Linda goes, I'll know. Whatever secrets she thinks she can keep, I'll uncover. This isn't about spying. It's about the truth. And I'm done letting her hide it. The next day, I get my first hit. Around lunchtime, Linda's location pings at a hotel. On the other side of town, my stomach churns as I stare at the screen. This isn't a coincidence. She's not meeting a friend or grabbing lunch. She's meeting Andrew. Don't rush out the door or call her in a fit of rage. Instead, call Peter. "It's happening," I say simply. "You sure?" he asks. "I just tracked her to a hotel." Peter is quiet for a moment. "All right, what's the plan?" Take a deep breath. The pieces of my plan finally falling into place. I'm going to catch them in the act. And I'm bringing Claire with me. Peter lets out a low whistle. "Man, that's bold. You think she'll go for it?" "She deserves to know," I say firmly. "If Andrew's wife is anything like me, she's sitting at home right now, wondering why her husband's been so distant. She deserves the truth." By late afternoon, I've tracked down Claire's number. Rehearse what I'm going to say. A dozen times before finally dialing. When she picks up, her voice is soft, kind. The voice of someone who has no idea. Their world is about to collapse. "Hi, Claire," I begin. "My name's Robert. I know this is going to sound strange, but I think your husband and my wife are having an affair." There's a long pause on the other end of the line. When she finally speaks, her voice is trembling. "What are you talking about?" "Explain everything. The messages, the photos, the tracking app." Can hear her breathing quicken as the reality of what I'm saying begins to sink in. "I don't believe it," she whispers. "Andrew would never." "Claire," I say gently but firmly, "if you come with me right now, I'll prove it to you." There's another pause. And then she says the words I'd been hoping for. "Where do I meet you?" The stage is set. Linda and Andrew have no idea what's coming. And this time I'm not going to hold back. The adrenaline coursing through me is like nothing I've ever felt before. Meet Claire in the parking lot of the hotel where Linda and Andrew are currently holed up. I arrive first. Park a few spaces away from the front entrance. Heart pounding in my chest as I watch the revolving door. Half expecting to see Linda and Andrew casually stroll out, laughing like they don't have a care in the world. 10 minutes later, Claire pulls up in a sleek black sedan. She steps out, looking every bit as shaken as I feel. Her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, but her eyes are red, like she's been crying on the way over. Can't blame her. The rug has just been pulled out from under her life. "Robert?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. I nod. "Yeah, thanks for coming." She hesitates, glancing nervously at the hotel. I still can't believe this is happening. "I mean, Andrew, he's not." Her voice trails off, as if she can't bring herself to finish the sentence. Place a hand on her shoulder, try to offer some semblance of comfort. "I know how you feel." I didn't want to believe it either. But I promise Claire, they're here. And I think we both deserve to see the truth with our own eyes. She nods, wiping her eyes quickly. "Okay, let's do this." Walk into the hotel together. The automated doors whoosh open, as if to mock the calm before the storm. The lobby is quiet, save for the receptionist typing away on her computer, already called ahead. pretending to be Andrew. Found out which room they're in. Room 417, 4th floor. The thought makes my blood boil. He didn't even have the decency to be discreet. Claire and I step into the elevator. Neither of us speaking. The tension in the air is suffocating. She clutches her purse tightly, knuckles white. I stare straight ahead, mind racing with scenarios. What if they deny it? What if they laugh in our faces? What if... Ding! The elevator doors slide open, revealing the 4th floor hallway. It's eerily quiet, the soft carpet muffling our footsteps. As we make our way to room 417, stop just outside the door, my hand hovering over the doorknob. You ready? I ask Claire, my voice low. She nods, though her expression says otherwise. Let's just get it over with. Raise my fist, knock 3 sharp times, loud enough to echo down the hallway. For a moment there's nothing, then hear movement. Shuffling, hurried whispers, the unmistakable sound of someone scrambling to cover their tracks. The door cracks open, and there he is, Andrew. His face goes from confusion to panic. In an instant when he sees me, Robert, he stammers, his voice cracking. Yeah, it's me, I say, pushing the door open wider. And I brought a friend. Claire steps forward, her eyes blazing with anger and hurt. Andrew, what the hell is this? His jaw drops. Claire, what are you doing here? What am I doing here? She repeats, her voice rising. What are you doing here? Here, Andrew. And don't you dare lie to me. Before he can answer, Linda's voice comes from inside the room. Andrew, who is it? Step into the room. And there she is, Linda standing by the bed, in nothing but a hotel robe, her hair tousled. The look on her face when she sees me is priceless, a mix of shock, guilt, and fury. Robert, she gasps. What are you doing here? Cross my arms, try to keep my voice steady. Oh, just thought I'd drop by and see what my loving wife is up to. And guess what? I'm not the only one. Linda's eyes dart to Claire, who's glaring daggers at Andrew. Claire, Linda begins. I can explain, but Claire cuts her off. Don't even try it, she snaps, her voice shaking with rage. I can't believe you two, sneaking around behind our backs, lying to us, destroying everything we've built. Do you have any idea what you've done? Andrew holds up his hands, trying to placate her. Claire, it's not what it looks like. Oh, shut up, Andrew, I say, cutting him off. We both know exactly what this is. You think you can play house with my wife and still go home to yours? You think we're idiots? Linda's expression hardens, the guilt vanishing as quickly as it appeared. Oh, give me a break, Robert. You're acting like some saint, like you've never made a mistake in your life. Can't believe what I'm hearing. A mistake? I repeat, my voice rising. This isn't forgetting to take out the trash, Linda. This is an affair. You lied to me, to our kids, to everyone. She rolls her eyes, crossing her arms. Oh, please, don't pretend like our marriage was perfect. You were never around, always working, always stressed. I needed someone who actually made me feel wanted. That's your excuse? I shout. You cheat on me because I was trying to provide for our family? Unbelievable. Claire steps forward, her voice trembling with fury. And you, Andrew, did you ever think about me? About the kids? Or was it all just about what you wanted? Andrew opens his mouth to respond, but no words come out. For once, he's speechless. The 4 of us stand there, the air thick with tension and unspoken accusations. Want to scream, to throw something, to make them feel even a fraction of the pain they'd caused, but instead take a deep breath, turn to Claire. You ready to leave? I ask her. She nods, tears streaming down her face. Yeah, I'm done here. As we walk out of the room, turn back to Linda one last time. You made your choice, I say coldly. Now you get to live with it. The door slams shut behind us, leaving them to stew in their mess. For the first time in weeks, feel a strange sense of relief. This isn't over, not by a long shot. But for now, I'd done what I came to do. Claire and I walk silently to the parking lot, the tension from the confrontation still crackling in the air like static electricity. Neither of us speaks as we reach our cars, but when we stop by her driver's side door, she breaks down, covering her face with her hands. I can't believe this, she says, her voice muffled by her palms. I can't believe he'd do this to me, to our family. Want to say something, to offer comfort. But what could I say? Know exactly how she feels. Betrayed, humiliated, completely unmade. Instead, just place a hand on her shoulder and say, you didn't deserve this. None of it. She looks up at me, her tear-streaked face full of pain and anger. What are you going to do now? It's a question I'd been asking myself all day. Before the confrontation, had imagined feeling a sense of satisfaction from catching Linda red-handed, but now all I feel is exhaustion. The weight of what comes next is crushing. I don't know yet. I admit. But I know one thing. This marriage is over. Claire nods, wiping her eyes. Yeah, I think mine is too. We exchange numbers before parting ways, agreeing to keep each other updated. Can't help but feel a strange camaraderie with her. We're both victims of the same betrayal. And even though we barely know each other, it feels like we're in this together. When I get home, the house is quiet. Elizabeth is in her room, probably pretending to do homework, but really worrying about what's going on. Linda isn't back yet, which is just as well. Need a moment to process everything. Sit down at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from me. For years, that had been Linda's spot. She'd sit there with her coffee in the mornings, scrolling through her phone, completely unaware or uncaring about how much I loved her. Now all I can see when I look at it is a stranger, someone I no longer recognize. My phone buzzes, pulling me out of my thoughts. It's a text from Peter. How'd it go? Type back quickly. Caught them. It was ugly. His reply comes almost instantly. Good, she deserves it. What's the next step? The next step? That was the question, wasn't it? I had the evidence, the lawyer, and now the confrontation. But this wasn't just about ending the marriage. It was about protecting my kids, ensuring that Linda's selfishness didn't destroy their lives too. Get up and go to Elizabeth's room, knocking softly before opening the door. She's sitting on her bed, scrolling through her phone, but looks up quickly when she sees me. Hey, I say, stepping inside. Can we talk? She nods, setting her phone aside. Is everything okay? Sit down on the edge of her bed, struggling to find the right words. No, Liz, it's not. I know you've probably figured out most of what's going on, but I need to be honest with you. Your mom and I, we're not going to stay together. Her eyes fill with tears, but she doesn't look surprised. Because of Andrew? I nod. Yeah, I tried to keep this from affecting you and Lily, but there's no way around it now. Your mom made some choices that I can't forgive, and I think it's best if we go our separate ways. Elizabeth wipes her eyes, takes a shaky breath. I hate her, she says quietly. Reach out and take her hand. Don't say that. She's still your mom, and she loves you. She made mistakes, big ones, but this isn't your burden to carry. It's mine. She doesn't respond, just leans into me and lets herself cry. Hold her, my heart breaking all over again. No matter how much I hate Linda right now, hate even more what this is doing to our daughters. Linda finally comes home. Around midnight, I'm sitting on the couch waiting for her. The look on her face when she sees me is a mix of defiance and weariness. Did you have fun? I ask. My tone icy. She drops her purse on the floor, crosses her arms. Oh, spare me the lecture, Robert. I'm not in the mood. I stand up, my voice steady but firm. This isn't a lecture, Linda. It's a reality check. I spoke to a lawyer today. I'm filing for divorce. Her eyes widen, but instead of looking surprised, she just scoffs. Good. Maybe now we can both move on? Her lack of remorse is staggering. But at this point, don't expect anything else. Fine, I say. But I'm keeping the house, and I'm going for full custody of the kids. That gets her attention. Full custody? Are you insane? I'm their mother. You're also the one who dragged another man into their lives, I shot back. Do you think Elizabeth doesn't know? Do you think Lily won't figure it out eventually? You didn't just betray me, Linda. You betrayed them. And I'm not going to let you drag them through your mess. She opens her mouth to argue, but I cut her off. Save it. I'm done listening to your excuses. If you want to fight me on this, go ahead. But I promise you, I'll do whatever it takes. To protect our daughters, she stares at me, her face a mixture of shock and fury. For once she doesn't have a snappy comeback, she just grabs her purse and storms upstairs, slamming the bedroom door behind her. Sit back down on the couch, exhaustion finally catching up to me. The house feels heavier than it ever has before, like the weight of everything that happened is pressing down on it. But for the first time in weeks, feel a glimmer of hope. I'm taking control. I'm fighting back. And no matter how messy it gets, I'm not going to let Linda or anyone else destroy what matters most to me. Tomorrow will bring more challenges, more heartbreak. But for now, allow myself a moment of peace. I have a long road ahead, but at least I'm finally moving in the right direction. The morning after Linda stormed upstairs, wake up to a strange mix of exhaustion and clarity. The fight isn't over, not by a long shot, but feel a renewed sense of purpose. Not going to let Linda's betrayal define me or destroy my family. If she wants a war, I'll fight it, but I'll fight it smart, and I'll fight it for my daughters. When I go downstairs, Elizabeth is already awake, eating cereal at the table. Her eyes flicker up at me, cautious and unsure, but she doesn't say anything. Lily is still asleep, her stuffed penguin clutched tightly in her arms. On the couch, make myself a cup of coffee, sit down across from Elizabeth, deciding that if this new chapter in our lives is starting, I need to set the tone. Hey, I say, keeping my voice calm. How are you doing? She shrugs, stirring her cereal with her spoon. I don't know. Everything's just weird. I get it, I say, nodding. It's weird for me too, but I want you to know something, Elizabeth. None of this is your fault, and none of it changes how much I love you and Lily. She looks up at me, her eyes glassy. Are you really going to divorce, Mom? The question hits me harder than expected, but don't shy away from it. Yeah, I am. I don't want to. But after everything that's happened, it's what's best for all of us. Elizabeth bites her lip, nodding slowly. She doesn't even seem sorry. Her words cut deep, not because they weren't true, but because they were so painfully accurate. Linda hadn't shown an ounce of remorse, not even after being caught red-handed. She treated me like I was the problem, like I was the one who'd ruined our marriage. And that realization only strengthens my resolve. Linda comes downstairs an hour later, dressed like she's heading out to a brunch date. Doesn't even glance in my direction. As she pours herself a cup of coffee, her demeanor cold and detached. It's like she's already written me off, as if I'm some inconvenience she has to endure for a little longer. Morning, I say, my tone neutral. She doesn't respond, just sips her coffee and checks her phone. Watch her for a moment, debating whether to engage. But no, it wouldn't matter. Linda isn't the woman I married anymore. She's someone else entirely. A stranger wearing a familiar face. Finally, she breaks the silence. So what's your plan, Robert? You going to play the victim card in court? Drag me through the mud? In front of the kids? Lean back in my chair, folding my arms. My plan is to make sure our daughters are taken care of. If that means showing the court exactly who you've been spending your time with, then so be it. Her eyes narrow. You think you're so perfect, don't you? Like you've never made a mistake. This isn't about perfection, I shot back. This is about accountability, something you seem to know nothing about. She rolls her eyes, grabs her purse, clearly done with the conversation. I'm going out, she says flatly. Where? I ask. Though already know the answer, she smirks. Not that it's any of your business, but I'm meeting a friend. A friend named Andrew? I ask, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Her smirk falters for a split second, but she quickly recovers. Believe whatever you want, Robert. I don't have to explain myself to you anymore. And with that, she walks out the door, leaving me and the girls alone once again. The slam of the door echoes through the house, a fitting punctuation to the mess she'd made of our lives. Later that afternoon, sit down with Sophia, my lawyer, to discuss the next steps. She reviews the evidence I'd gathered, text messages, photos, even the GPS logs from the tracking app. Her expression is unreadable as she flips through the documents, but when she finally looks up at me, I see a flicker of approval. You've done your homework, she says, setting the papers aside. This will give us a strong case for custody, especially with Elizabeth being old enough to testify about what she's seen. I nod, but the thought of putting Elizabeth on the stand makes my stomach turn. I don't want to drag her into this, unless it's absolutely necessary. She's been through enough. Sophia gives me a small understanding smile. I get that, but you should know, if Linda decides to fight for custody, she's not going to play nice. We need to be prepared for anything, whatever it takes, I say firmly. I'm not losing my daughters. That evening, Claire calls me. Her voice is shaky, but there's a steely determination underneath it. Robert, I filed for divorce today. Her words catch me off guard. Claire, I'm sorry, but I'm glad you're taking control. She lets out a bitter laugh. Yeah, well, I can't sit around pretending everything's fine anymore. Andrew came home today, acting like nothing happened, like I didn't see him with Linda. I couldn't stand to look at him. I know the feeling, I say, but you're doing the right thing. You deserve better than this. So do you, she says softly. What are you going to do next? I hesitate, staring out the window at the fading sunlight. I don't know yet, but whatever it is, it starts with making sure Linda doesn't hurt Elizabeth and Lily any more than she already has. Claire is quiet for a moment before saying, if you ever need someone to talk to, you've got my number. Same to you, I say. We're in this together, remember? Her small laugh is the closest thing to warmth I've felt all day. Yeah, together. That night, as I tuck Lily into bed, she looks up at me with her big innocent eyes and asks, Daddy, why is Mommy so mad at you? I freeze, my heart breaking at the question. How could I explain something so complicated to someone so young? Finally say, sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, sweetie, but no matter what, I love you, and I always will. She nods sleepily, clutching her stuffed penguin. I love you too, Daddy, as I turn off the light and close her door. feel a renewed sense of purpose. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about them. About giving them the stability and love they deserve. No matter how messy things got with Linda, tomorrow the fight would continue. But for tonight, let myself hope that maybe, just maybe, there was light at the end of this dark tunnel. The following morning, the atmosphere in the house is charged. Linda had stayed out late again the night before. And when she walks into the kitchen that morning, it's clear she hadn't expected me to be sitting there, coffee in hand, waiting for her. She stops mid-stride, her eyebrows raised. "What's this? Are you staging another intervention?" Stare at her for a long moment, letting the silence stretch. Then finally say, "We need to talk." Linda sighs dramatically, dumping her purse onto the counter. "Oh, here we go. Can't you just save it for court, Robert? Or do you enjoy dragging this out?" Keep my tone calm, measured. This isn't about me. This is about the girls. Her eyes narrow slightly, but she doesn't say anything. Gesture to the chair across from me. "Sit." For a moment, thought she'd refuse, but something in my tone must have gotten through. She sits down, crossing her arms defensively. "All right, let's hear it." Lean forward, my gaze locked on hers. "This is how it's going to go. I've already filed for divorce. I have all the evidence I need. Linda, texts, photos, location data. You're not going to win this in court. You can fight me if you want. But all you'll be doing is dragging the girls through something ugly, and I won't let that happen." Her jaw tightens, but she doesn't interrupt. "I'm willing to keep this as civil as possible. We can work out custody, divide things fairly, and move on with our lives. But if you try to pull anything at all, I will make sure the court knows exactly who you've been, and I'll fight for full custody of Elizabeth and Lily." Her lips curl into a bitter smile. "You really think you're the hero in this, don't you? Mr. Perfect Husband swooping in to save the kids from their evil mother. Newsflash, Robert. You're not as noble as you think." "I don't care what you think about me," I say evenly. "This isn't about us anymore. It's about them. And unlike you, I'm not going to put my needs ahead of theirs." She stands abruptly, the chair screeching against the floor. "Fine," she snaps. "You want to play the self-righteous martyr? Go ahead. But don't act like you're the only one who loves those kids. I stand too," my voice firm. "Then prove it. Stop lying. Stop dragging them into your mess. And start thinking about what kind of example you're setting for them." She glares at me, her eyes blazing, but she doesn't respond. Instead, grabs her purse and storms out of the kitchen, slamming the front door behind her. Over the next few weeks, things escalated. Linda hired a lawyer of her own, and while she didn't outright deny the affair, her legal team tried to paint me as a cold, distant workaholic who had neglected her emotional needs. It was a weak argument, but it was enough to make the proceedings messy. The girls could sense the tension, especially Elizabeth. One evening after dinner, Elizabeth pulls me aside and asks, "Dad, are we going to have to go to court?" Kneel down so I'm at her eye level. "I'm doing everything I can to keep you and Lily out of it, but I need you to be honest with me. If the court asks you questions about what's been going on, can you do that?" She nods, her expression serious. I don't want to hurt anyone." Hug her tightly, my throat tight with emotion. "You're not hurting anyone, Liz. This isn't your fault. None of it is." The breaking point came 2 weeks later. Got a call from Sophia, my lawyer, saying that Linda had tried to claim that the tracking app I'd used on her phone was a violation of her privacy. She thought she could use it to weaken my case. But Sophia was quick to remind her legal team that I'd installed it only after she'd given me ample reason to suspect infidelity. It was clear Linda was grasping at straws, and even her own lawyer seemed to be losing patience with her. But what pushed me over the edge was what happened the following weekend. I'd taken the girls to the park, trying to give them some semblance of normality. When we got home, Elizabeth handed me a piece of paper she'd found tucked under the windshield wiper of my car. It was a note from Linda, except it wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to Andrew. The note read, "I can't believe you're letting Robert control the narrative. We need to figure out how to handle this before it gets worse. Call me." Elizabeth looked confused as she handed it to me. "Dad, what does this mean?" Crumpled the note in my hand, my blood boiling. Linda was still scheming, still trying to manipulate the situation to her advantage. But now she'd made a critical mistake. She'd involved the girls, even indirectly. That night I confronted her one final time, showed her the note, my voice low and steady. "This ends now, Linda. I'm done playing nice." Her eyes flicked to the note, and for the first time, I see something resembling fear in her expression. "Robert, it's not what it looks like. Save it," I say, cutting her off. "You've already done enough damage. If you don't back off, if you don't stop trying to drag Andrew into this, I will make sure you lose everything. Do you understand me? She opens her mouth to argue, but then closes it, her shoulders slumping. She knows she's lost. For the first time, I felt like I was finally in control. In the end, the divorce was finalized, with me retaining primary custody of the girls. Linda was given visitation rights, but the court saw through her attempts to paint herself as the victim. The evidence I'd gathered was damning, and Elizabeth's willingness to tell the truth only solidified my case. It wasn't a clean victory. Nothing about this process had been clean, but it was a victory nonetheless. And as I sat with Elizabeth and Lily in our new, smaller home, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. The girls were resilient, just as Linda had once claimed, but they were also stronger than she gave them credit for. Together, we were rebuilding, one day at a time. As for Linda and Andrew, I didn't care anymore. They'd made their choices, and now they had to live with the consequences. My focus was on my daughters, on the life we were creating, without the shadow of betrayal hanging over us. Looking back, I realized I'd learned something important. Betrayal doesn't define you. How you respond to it does. And as I watched Elizabeth help Lily with her homework that evening, I knew I'd made the right choice. This wasn't the life I'd envisioned, but it was ours. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough.